What is good, people? So this small chunk of audio is recorded after this video. This is basically a long-ass video on like tiering philosophy in 1v1, kind of prompted by a bunch of tiers not being super good right now. Basically, this is essentially the pretext for the UU tour and the UU video. That meta is super lit, by the way. If you're not signed up for that tour, there's 4 more signups left for subs. So if you feel like joining up. Also, watch the video of UU. It's pretty damn fun. Big shouts to SMB for the graphic used. I fucking love it. Big shouts to him. Big shouts to him. Anyways, here's the video. Go! What is up, people? This is my first video in, I think, a few months. 2 months, maybe. I'm joined with 2... Okay, I realized... I was on streams the other night. I realized I'm unironically with 2 1v1 geniuses. Straight up. That was my realization. Introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Synonymous. I played a ton of SM, a little bit of SS, a ton of DPP for a while. Took a big break, and then in the recent World Cup, played ORS. Went 2-2. Would have been 3-1, but alas.
Alas.
And yeah, I'm Crucify. I played like literally every single gen. That's a fun fact about me. I'm one of the only people that's done that. And like I was on all the consoles for all the gens at a certain point, except for SM. SM I was never on console because of Rosa, but whatever.
If you don't know this guy, you're doing a disservice. Also, Uber's legend.
Yeah.
That's also true.
But Chris, do you agree that Sinan could have been an insane like team carry builder if he just like needed and just like learned every meta and built every team for his teammates? I feel like there's no reason he couldn't have just been like an elite player.
No, I agree with that.
Because I feel like Sinan is a good player built like really limited by time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I took a massive break, so that I just didn't
A
have
lot
much
of-
time when I was playing.
A lot of newer viewers probably don't know that me and Sinan teamed with each other in PL4. So I think based on just that tour, I would say yes. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, that's enough about us.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is gonna be like more of a like I have some, actually I don't have any video right now, but I'm gonna like edit stuff. But this is gonna be not like the most entertaining video for like, I'd say more casual 1v1 people. But if you're like cooking some food or like driving or like doing some shit and you want to just listen, go ahead. We're gonna be talking mostly about like tiering philosophy, I guess, and a bunch of different gens. But we're gonna be talking about some other stuff. So first thing, check out my other channel. I'll link it, have it on screen, something like that. I'm probably gonna be uploading there more than here, and I will be putting some more showdown stuff on there than here. I want to get it popping because this is like kind of a weird like niche 1v1 channel, and that's like not, it will not grow in a way that I would like actually want. So if you want to see more of my videos, go sub. Also, World Cup. I'm gonna sound like an old head. I did not enjoy this tour, to be honest. I don't like this thing where it's like the best team is just so much fucking better than every other team and has like 120% of their resources. I don't like it. I don't like it. Do you have any thoughts?
Okay, like you a lot of the like Asia Pacific people, they say like ASPAC, like ASPAC, but I don't like saying that, so I'm just gonna say Asia Pacific. A lot of the Asia Pacific people argue that like South and West were like on paper close to them, but I disagree with that.
Yeah.
But two, like the intangibles for Asia as well as like all of their individual players were all like off the charts compared to all of the other teams, honestly. So yeah, I kind of agree. I didn't really like the tour. Because one tour was just so much better than one team was just so much better than everyone else, and they were never like tested even. Like Central came out of nowhere to make finals, right? But they didn't like. Asia basically only lost games to RNG. They
were tested for like what, like 2 or 3 games when it looked like Central was gonna make the fake comeback.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say that like something that really gets overlooked in these discussions of how good teams are is depth, where even if like the best 4 or even like 6 players on West are better than the best 6 players on Asia, the last 2 on Asia are so much better than the people who have just like never played in a tour before. And so the difference there matters so much more. Because like, I mean, in this kind of tier, like if you are, it's sort of like there's a lower ceiling than other tiers where it's like someone who's like insane versus someone who's just really good is not as big of a difference between someone who is like pretty good and someone who is like total ass, right? And so that edge is going to be much larger and have a much larger impact on a team that lacks depth.
Also, speaking of depth, what other team can just afford to like bench Stravage? Like, what I was gonna say was congratulations to Darcy, Lit, and Strav. I feel like those people, I don't know, not deserved it the most, but like those are the people that I see and I'm like, good shit, I'm glad you going. Because like, does the fate of the universe change if Dead gets another and like RTM gets one? I feel like no, but I would like to see like cool, really unique builders like Darcy. Someone like Lit had an actually amazing tour, and Strava I just think is a really cool force 1v1. I hope he bounces back from his unfortunate Hellfire Heat Trans campaign. But I think he can.
Shout out Darcy.
Yeah, shout out Darcy.
Shout out Darcy, the GOAT.
Finally got he was on a good team. But yeah, I don't really have much more to say besides when PO comes around, if someone's trying to like form some OPS team, upbid them. Like I remember last PL I was like spam DMing Mubs to upbid Liru. Liru should not be 7.5k man. Also no people just need to be like anti super team. Like if someone pays attention and is following 1v1 like in like the Discord and it's like you see that this shit is happening, just be like, nah, make a post, be like, this team's too OP, just make a smoke gun post, just like stand in the way. Because like I look back on like I sound like such a fucking old head here, but I look back on like PO4. I think PO4 might have been the biggest like dog fight of all time, of like in terms of like who the actual fuck is gonna win.
I'm actually I have the PL4 page pulled up right now because I was thinking, damn, I wonder how much people paid for me in PL4 because I just don't remember. But this was I'm gonna send this here.
It was triple tie-breaking playoffs, right?
Yeah.
Like this
was the
quintessential dog.
This was the week
fight.
1 matchup. Like,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like this is crazy. This just doesn't happen anymore, which kind of sucks. But oh well.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think these tournaments aren't really like actual competition. It just feels like it's like a way for people to play Pokemon, and then obviously the best team wins because they're just way better than everyone else.
You're playing to win.
Yeah. Anyways, next topic. I don't really have much more to say. The reason why we're making this is because I don't know about you guys, but I think a lot of the 1v1 tiers right now are pretty underwhelming and a little bit stale. And what do you guys think about that?
I actually have a segue about this because I wanted to bring up the Ogre Pond Hearts playing suspect that happened like mid World Cup. I mean, I think Ogre Pond not getting banned was actually insane. But I mean, we can probably talk about it. I don't know how much you're gonna talk about SB, but Heartsflame not getting banned was insane.
No, let's talk about it.
And if you look at the voter list,
let's talk about it.
You look at the World Cup players versus who wasn't World Cup players, it was actually so disgusting. Like, oh my god.
I think before we discuss the details of this, I think it's important. I think we should have the brief discussion on like 1v1 ban philosophy.
Okay, sure.
Because I think Hearthflame is like a really good example of like people misunderstanding what should be banned.
Honestly,
in this tier,
I feel like ban philosophy kind of just comes down to like, okay, this sounds so fucking like cynical, but I feel like it comes down to like who's like propagandizing the most, or maybe not propagandizing because that makes it seem like it's like dishonest or like trying to trick people, but who's like really pushing for like a public, you know, like stance. I feel like that matters.
Well, I think there's a difference between like what gets banned, like what actually gets banned versus like what should be banned, right? And it's more like what should the philosophy be behind like what we actually ban in these tiers is what I wanted to discuss.
Okay, so philosophy-wise, for like what I have actually become way more loose on what I would want to see banned, because I feel like things that just like, so I would want to either ban centralizing mons, because like there's a reason why me, Zach, and Radu were like the people that were pushing for bans for a while, is because we're builders. Like we understand like how the tiers like is pretty much meant to be played, meant to be built, and like if you're running into a wall every time that, oh man, this mon that's good actually really only has like 5 counters that are like viable, or just like I have to use fucking like Stunfisk. I remember I was like in Black White Jirachi, I'm like, dude, Stunfisk beats Jirachi, man. But I'm like, yeah, I once you go into that far where either there's a limited pool of mons, or the mons that are like counters are like artificially boosted in viability, that's where I think it becomes too much of an issue. But I also have issue with mons that kind of dumb down the game, and by that I would say SS Entei and either SV or SS Regidrago are really good examples. I feel like they take a lot of skill out of the game. Also Custap. I feel like there's something I would ban from every single gen, to be honest, at this point in time. But what do you guys think about either like the uncompetitive things, or just like house like centralization and like what goes too far?
Right, just to like make it clear, the 2 principles we should be using are over-centralization and uncompetitiveness. But I think that the 1v1 definition of uncompetitiveness looks really different from 6v6. Just in terms of like this sort of bigger focus on 50-50s and sort of like unclear play patterns versus mons, where it's just like you might technically have a counter to something, but if your counter can technically beat anything the other guy has, but it doesn't always beat it depending on what you click, like that feels like a fundamentally uncompetitive thing, if that's a broader pattern with that. And then I think that like anything that promotes, I think Ogerpon is a great example of like the 50-50s in like just sort of inherent in it, where I think Ogerpon with like the speed ties is just so fucking dumb. Because it's one thing for like a mon to have like interesting matchups versus itself, but when the optimal set is always 252 plus speed, there's no way to like tech it. You just have to kind of pray, you know what I mean? Where it's like with Zard and like Oras is a good example of the opposite tendency, in my opinion, where it's just like running a max speed Zard is not always optimal, right? So you have to balance between teching for other Zards and teching for other mons, and there's actually like depth there.
Also, that's a great like it just reminded me of something. I think a lot of like what makes a mon ban worthy is what it can do in one set.
Yeah, for sure. Opportunity cost, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah,
mons
exactly.
lack opportunity cost.
Like I'd say Oras Zard Y is an example. I know there's certain people Earth Girl that think that Zard Y ban was really bad for the tier, and in terms of like direction was just not the like right play. But dude, Zard Y could do so much with one set, and there was like you had like 5 moves that you would shuffle: Blast Burn, Air Slash, Shoulder Beam, Endure, and then like Ancient Power or like sub.
There's like
maybe
toxic sub.
HP Electric didn't really end up being helpful as
Endure,
Garrus ran Stone Edge, but yeah, like
Yeah.
all you need to run was 252. Now you can flinch stuff with Air Slash. Now you like are strong enough, and there's like only certain mons, like I would say like Meloetta or something like that you would want mons for like rolls more. Kieran Black, like Habon Kieran Black, but that like super died out. So like I don't know. I think Zard Y is a good example of like a mon being able to do too much with one set.
I think the opposite of this is like, which can be healthy. I'm not sure how good an example this is, but I think SM Greninja is a decent example, where it's just like, there is some sort of unhealthiness in the fact that like Greninja can tech everything.
Yeah, no, like in SM, if you watch Milan, like that thing has 2 million Z moves, 2 million EV spreads, Light Orb, weird move combinations, like
it's got Scarf, like
yeah, it can Scarf Dig Zera, true. HP Ground as well, yeah.
Yeah, but the thing
Hilarious.
is, it's like the opportunity cost in those sets is so great. You know what I mean? Where it's like if you're putting like ICMZ on your Greninja, you are losing very, very relevant matchups.
A ton.
And so it's balanced in the sense that like even though it can do all these different things in one mon, it's like to get that tech, you have to give up so much. And I think this sort of super unhealthy middle ground is like something that both has multiple really good sets that don't have similar counterplay, plus those sets don't give up very much. And I think you see this time and time again throughout the tiers. I don't know if we want to save this discussion. I'll save this discussion for later, but I think like Snorlax in earlier gens is like, or really any gen is like a great example of this.
We'll get to that guy.
Yeah.
But so I feel like for something like Greninja, I don't think it's the healthiest mon, but it can serve as like a very transparent reminder of like a certain like prep gap that exists between players, where some people are just better at T-teaming than others. And Gren can be a pretty good example of that. Because at the end of the day, more often than not, we'll get into this later, but more often than not, you will be losing the Choice Scarf and Zero Aura and all that shit. But it's like the really special players that can like bring them on like that to its full potential.
And that's good, because that's like skill expression.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think Greninja is necessarily the healthiest mon, because it can kind of click like anything to beat you. But yeah, in terms of like,
that's why it's not the best. It's not the cleanest example.
But I feel like SM in particular, if we're talking about SM Greninja, has so many threats that realistically, botting every game with Greninja is going to be impossible.
Yeah, I agree. I think Kieran Black is like a good example of this.
Yeah.
Or I guess the Oras Kieran Black.
Yeah,
Whereas,
Oras Kieran Black is a good example.
Yeah. It has like all this choice sets and then Haban. And they all beat like pretty much different things.
Yeah, the GOAT weakness policy set.
Yeah. I wanted to touch on the picking part, because like while I like am known as like as someone who builds a lot, I actually think the picking part is huge, and the determining what to ban. But it's also like a tricky argument to make, right? The argument that I always make is Regidrago. Like I'm an advocate for Regidrago to be banned in SV. I'm not sure about SS, but definitely SV, because Regidrago is just a coin flip machine. Like it just is. And like people are so good at building now that they can always make the 50-50s in their favor with Regidrago.
Yeah.
Like you just put it with two fairy beaters. Like Regidrago, Corviknight, Volcarona was a team that got brought like 10 times in World Cup at least. And it just like beats all the other fairy types.
Yeah.
So you automatically have a skewed 50-50 against you. And I think that's like, that goes into the uncompetitive part when it comes to like philosophy.
And something I think about that is like certain mons that are like degenerate can like really be empowered to be degenerate by their teammates. Like I feel like that was super OSR. Like
it was. Yeah.
Or like when there was X and Y, like 2022 meta, I think is like right before it got banned. Like its teammates were so fucking degenerate in terms of enabling it. Like, oh shit, they have Zard checks, but also I have a Meta goes 2-1 because you brought fucking Altaria and shit. Also, like speaking about Drago specifically, yeah. So I remember in SS there's like the Bo Bobson Lecky Corv. It's like Lecky Corviknight Drago, right? And there's also that team I made. It was I think Metagross Zapdos Drago, and I've seen that team like ported to SS, with like it was like Drago, Zapdos, and then what's that like Twinkerton? I don't remember that one's name.
Twinkaton.
Yeah, that guy.
His actual name is Tinkaton. Yeah.
Twinkaton. Anyways,
yeah,
that guy is like a steel that is also fairy, so it helps versus like other Dragos and stuff. Yeah, that shit is like a really like tried and true, because steel and electric is pretty good core. They kind of beat different stuff. So when there's a Rage Jaeger and all that, I would for sure just ban that guy from SS. I would ban like 3 things from SS. That, Sacred Fire, and Custap. Like get all those fuckers out of my face.
Yeah. Do we want to? I think talking about like trends throughout tiers might be good before we go into like specific tiers and top tiers in there.
Go ahead. Lead the way.
Yeah, so let's talk about Custap. Let's talk about Custap, Barry.
Yes.
I want to talk about Custap. Because I think this is the perfect example of like everything wrong with like 1v1 play patterns and enabling like set ambiguity and stuff like that, where it's just like you can slot this onto almost any offensive Pokemon, period, right? Like, and it does two different things where it's like for the fast but frail stuff, it gives you like this out, which against the even faster stuff, right? Where it's just like for like a Heracross, for example, for something that might beat it that's faster, right? You can just click Endure and then Custap them out. So it acts as like a choice scarf without having to give up the flexibility. And then for the stuff that's like bulkier attackers, it basically gives you a choice scarf, but more flexibility in your moveset. And so, not to mention the sort of 50-50s involved with it inherently. So it just like, it adds this capability to almost anything that's very difficult to play around. And if you want to play around it, it's 50-50s that you're not even sure about because you don't know if something is Custap, right? Because that's the thing, is like if a bulky attacker hits you with an attack, like you would know if it was Choice Scarf, right? Because it would be faster than you. But if you just get hit by a normal attack, you know, it could be Weakness Policy, it could be Resist Berry, it could be all these things, right? And you just don't know until you get hit with the Custap.
Yeah, real quick. So I want to like a really good counter argument to banning Custap that a lot of people say is that like set guessing is inherently part of 1v1, which it is. Like set guessing, set building is like inherent to the tier. That's literally all we do. But where I think Custap changes things is it like, that's like what you were describing with the choice scarf and bulky attackers, right? It like fundamentally changes like conceptions that we have about the tier. That was not coherent, whatever. But basically what I'm trying to say is like Custap creates situations where neither player has a correct play. Like the person with Custap Berry has to think whether their opponent thinks they have Custap Berry and then either click Endure or an attack. And then the person who doesn't have the Custap Berry and it's like in the calc figuring out that this mon is not choiced, so they could either be Custap or they could be something else, or they could be like, I don't know, like they could have clicked the setup move and then they're actually like Life Orb instead of Custap, and then they have to determine whether or not they're Custap or not, and then whether or not they're going to click Endure or not. So these like convoluted webs, convoluted webs of decision making that Custap causes are they're uncompetitive because like while like set guessing is part of 1v1, Custap like fundamentally alters it, and that's why I would say Custap should be banned.
Yeah, I think a good example is it's just like if you are playing against a Custap user where it's ambiguous, right? Like it's theoretically optimal. It's kind of like a mixed strategy, not to go into full econ here, but it's like a mixed strategy where it's optimal most of the time to just click an attack, right? Because it's like if they have Custap, there's a chance that they're playing around you thinking they have Custap, and if they don't have Custap, it's optimal to attack anyways, right? But there's also some percentage that you assume they do have Custap, and that you need to play around it. So it's like, it's basically like a 70-30 what you do, and that's like really toxic in my opinion.
Also, in old gens especially, it's dumb because double Endure is, I think is it 50%?
50%. Yeah.
So, yeah, and I had a realization about Custap is that on slow mons, it's like quite literally better than Focus Sash, because if you're taking 100 damage anyways, then you get one hit, cool, right? Maybe you can like sneak in some priority in there, but on against mons that don't Oko, you get 2 hits. And so it's
exactly. It's literally better than Focus Sash.
It enables the fuck out of slow mons, and also I really I think people are a little bit dishonest about set guessing. If you make set guessing a crucial I need to be able to set guess to win, I think you need to not build like that.
Well, also it's worse because it's like set guessing at preview is different from set guessing in game. Right, where it's just like, oh, do I think the Greninja is going to be like Scarf or like, do I think the Dragonite is going to be Scarf or Band, right? And it's like, you can sort of infer from the team structure. But like, Custap has such overlapping matchups, but such different play that you need to beat it, you know what I mean? Where it's like, it creates the 50-50s, even if you guess the set correctly.
Yeah,
which is really stupid.
And there's these really unclear, ambiguous like weighted 50-50s, which also you can just say, okay, I'm gonna endure here, and if I get it wrong, I can just fucking endure again. So there's also that, like if
the endure again. Let's not even get into endure again. That's like that's the dumbest shit ever.
Always endure again.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just I think Custap is such a net negative. In certain gens, I didn't really have an opinion on it in OS until we played some friendly Synon. Also when I watched that PL finals game, it was like Crustle versus Sylve. Like, yeah, I don't know. I'm a Custap hater now. I don't think the thing about Custap that I was like pro Custap in OS was because honestly it's only really like mid to bad Pokemon use it. So it's like
counterpoint Manaphy, dude. I was building to try and beat Custap Manaphy is a fucking nightmare.
It's really, really hard because a lot of Manaphy counterplay I was using in like 2022 was just like a really strong Specs T-Bolt, but if they Custap'd me, I would just lose. And it's
also like Zard Y, honestly, was like a pretty decent source.
Yeah, big.
Cause like you could eat the Hyper Beam or whatever, and then you would just kill it. But yeah, I think that was one downside of banning Zard Y.
Like
you lost a really good Manaphy counter, and now you have to use shit like Magnezone. Like,
okay, to be fair, I use Magnezone in Zard meta a lot.
Yeah,
too.
No, I'm a Magnezone fan. I think it's pretty solid, but like it should not have to be used as often as it is.
I was gonna segue. Okay, yeah. So I think the perfect example of this like, oh, are they actually Custap thing is, do you guys remember Mubs versus O in PL?
I mean,
okay, let me narrate.
PL?
Yeah, let me narrate this for the people who did not watch because the replays are down. Turn 1, Mubs clicks Sword Stance with Zardex against Manaphy. Turn 2,
oh no,
Lonzo clicks Tail Glow. Or turn 1, Lonzo clicks Tail Glow. Turn 2, Mubs clicks Flame Charge, expecting Custap. Turn 2, Zoe clicks Life Orb Surf and then says GG1.
It's good narration.
Yeah, like that type of shit is just actually like, I don't know why I was so blind to it in OS. This shit is so dumb. If I could ban it right now and snap my fingers and just ban it, I literally just would. Like, come on now.
I need to bring up a counterpoint to that, because in a way that is just a tech though, is it not? Like Life Orb Manaphy. Like how is that different than getting tech by anything else?
No, Life Orb Manaphy is healthy.
No, the issue is that Mubs had a +2 fucking outrage that would have just destroyed like a fucking village of Manaphys, but he didn't. but he felt like he had a flame charge on the Endure, and it's just, I don't know, shit like that is so convoluted and dumb. Like, I'm sure Lonzo, when making that set, was not like, well, I'm gonna make Charizard click Flame Charge. I don't really think Lonzo thinks that much. I think Lonzo's just like
for Slowbro.
strong Manaphy is funny and beats Slowbro and stuff.
Well, I had a similar thing where I had like a +2 Zard with Spadef versus Manaphy, and so I click Outrage. They live on 1%. I live their attack and their Rocky Helmet. So you just die to Rocky Helmet, where it's just like, if I knew they were Rocky Helmet, if Custap didn't exist, I just SD again, right? And I always win that matchup. So I don't know.
So
it's
ban Manaphy.
Well, that's a separate question, and I think we should get to that
question
on the ABB.
Yeah.
Honestly,
that
Manaphy
later.
is probably ban worthy, but we can get to that later. Are there any other like really big overall things before we go through the tiers?
Well, I think we should. I think before we get into the tiers, we should touch down on like healthy versus unhealthy top mons.
Yeah. Let's do that.
So, like I said earlier, here I just want to say one thing. I think there's a certain balance of flaws that are real versus flaws that are fake in like top tiers, because a lot of like anti-ban people will be like, we'll just point out like the fakest flaws in a mon that is like just fucking irrelevant, or just totally build like you can just build around it, and it's like okay, like I said earlier, Greninja I don't think should ever like be a top like 2 or 3 mon. Okay, it can be maybe be 3, but like in terms of being top 2, I don't think Grenin can be a centralizing force, because it can be really set dependent, and also it just loses to the item choice scarf or faster guys. 90 like
let's define what we mean by a top tier mon.
Yes.
Right, which is probably just usage based, right? Like the most used mon should correlate with the best mon.
It doesn't always though,
but it doesn't always, right? Where I think a good example is like in metagames like OU, right? Gen 9 OU, honestly, like Great Tusk, right? For a long time, Great Tusk was like #1 used mon, like crazy ass usage, more than Lando T ever had. But it wasn't the best mon, right? Like no one's asking to ban Great Tusk, but it's just because of the roll compression that it serves. And I think you see a similar thing with, instead of roll compression being understood as like, you know, it can like spin and like set rocks or whatever, it's like there are large categories of stuff that it beats, right? And it can sort of do that well. I think like Slowbro in a ton of metas is a good example, where it's like it's not necessarily the best mon, but it might get more usage because it has this role that you need. It's like a glue mon. So maybe we should. Do you have like a different definition of a top tier mon? Because I think it's important to sort of nail that down before we start going into what it should be.
I think an issue that you run into is like how the viability rankings are structured. Is like whenever someone sees an S rank mon in the VR ranking in 1v1, they just think it should be banned. Like they don't view it as a top tier. They view like the best mons in the tier should be banned. And I don't really know. Like I sort of disagree with the notion. Like what you're describing there with like Great Tusk being #1 usage because it compresses rolls. I view that as like a glue mon in 1v1.
Yeah.
Like glue mons are definitely things, right?
Exactly.
And like,
yeah.
I don't really know, because well, I defined like the best glue mons to be top tier mons, like I guess. So like, is the conversation that we're having about top tier mons or best mons?
I want to just put my thoughts about that. I feel like honestly, a lot of my glue mons are like pretty healthy guys. Like in SS, I think about like Fairthorn. I'm gonna go through my builder and see some guys. Feeny. I think certain mons can be glue, but an often time I feel like the glue mons and the guys that are broken are fairly separate until you get into like really defining mons, like I would say Oresard, Manaphy, stuff like that.
Right. I agree that they're different. Maybe I think it's a combination of like 2 factors, which is like hard to beat and beats a lot of stuff. Right, and there's obviously like a sliding scale, but you kind of have to have both of those things.
Yeah,
I'm looking through the usage of World Cup, because I was like, there's no way the best mon is going to be used the most times, and so I'm going to read out what we got. SV, Iron Valiant, probably the best.
Makes sense.
SS, Primarina, like very probably top 2 or top 3, most people would consider. Or SM, Charizard, one of the best mons for sure. Oras, also Charizard. Black White,
probably the best mon.
Black White, Manaphy for some reason.
Black White Manaphy. It wasn't Thunderous. Interesting.
Thunderous is at number 4 on 12% of teams. Manaphy, it's only like 2% behind. It's actually like
Yeah.
It's
one
also like,
Yeah.
1.5%.
I wonder what would happen to Thunderous usage if Manaphy was banned.
Well, I don't know.
It would still be pretty good. But...
It would.
So yeah, I'll just like it's kind of hard to explain on like Topmon versus Gloomon, and like healthy Topmon versus unhealthy Topmon. So I'm gonna just look through some old gen VOs real quick and just
yeah, I have them all.
sure.
I have them all kind of pulled up. Do we want to? I think going through each now that we've sort of defined a top tier, I think we can sort of explore more
Yeah.
with like examples. Do
Like
we just want to go
specific.
through the gens and look at? I think look at the top tier mons, and I think it's important to look at the banned mons, why they were banned, right?
Sure.
Do
So
we start
like,
with DPP? Like go from old
Let's-
to new.
No, bro, we are
Yeah,
not. No. Please do not start with that irrelevant ass gen, bro. Please.
okay.
Okay,
Do you want to start with? We could maybe start with ADV like briefly.
Dude, that gen is also that gen is also
Okay, that
irrelevant.
shit is also irrelevant. That shit is also irrelevant.
Can we just
No,
start
you're
with Can we just start with SS? Because I think most of my viewers are SS people.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know too much about like 2023 SS to be honest, but I think
It sucks.
some of these band mons are like pretty. I would say there's like two categories, right? Where it's just like there's these like two good like trap mons, so like speed traps, or like I want to call them like damage traps, like something like a superior or like a whimsicott, like stuff like that is kind of like a damage trap. I think SS Sableye really fits this.
Also, like
it's the Sable set.
like subtoxic thunders, I guess.
Yeah, stuff like this, where it's just like you need something really strong to beat it, or you need something really fast to beat it, or something like that.
Or just like
And
or just a mon with like the right like type coverage. Like for Whimsicott, you just sludge bomb it and it fucking dies most of the time.
Yeah, exactly. But that's like a damage question. So it's more of just like and so for those, it's like kind of a fine line of like, does this beat too much? And so it's an example is like Jumpluff is like busted and banned in earlier tiers, and then like SM, there's just a lot more counterplay. So it's legal.
That shit is banned in ORS though, even though it wasn't broken, just because a bunch of chumps banned
Well,
it.
there's the uncompetitive part of sleep, right? But like like Vivillon, right? Vivillon was not broken, but it's because Jumpluff, the difference in speed excluded so many more possible counters, and also introduced the uncompetitive part that it was banned, right? So I think less consistency is actually maybe more of a reason to beat something, if that inconsistency makes the counterplay harder, if that makes sense.
I'm looking
Maybe
at
it doesn't
the
make sense.
I'm looking at the SSVR right now. I think we're gonna have a perfect discussion on like healthy top tier versus unhealthy top tier. So let's just start off with that. Do we have anything to add to the previous, like what Sonal was saying? I don't.
Here, I'll just drop the relevant ban stuff, and I think most of the stuff that was banned was either in that like sort of trap category, or it has the like every set is good and like it's really hard to beat all of them, right? Where it's just like the opportunity cost between sets of like Mimikyu or Magearna, right, is so low, like Jirachi, right? But it's like beating those different sets is so difficult in one mon, so it's just so hard to build.
For mons like that, I feel like once you have like 3 sets that are just
Yeah,
all good,
three.
like I'm
It
thinking
can be
of,
two.
yeah,
to a certain extent.
it super can be 2 for someone like Sableye, but I'm thinking about Jirachi, who had like Scarf, Stall, and just like whatever else you wanted to run, like Specs or T-Wave.
And Stall was the most broken. Stall
Yeah.
was the reason they got banned.
Yeah.
And it's usually like I think the most common pattern is like one offensive set, one stall set. So I think like Snorlax in like every gen, Mew in every gen. But Mew obviously has way more, but it's like the two sort of archetypes, because the way you have to approach beating that is just so inherently difficult, right? Because it's just a super difficult needle to thread, that it's like almost impossible to do in one mon.
Because like for mons that are so versatile and being able to like win in so many different ways, just counterplay is just so fucking limited, and especially like in terms of like, I guess certain like there's certain ways that mons can like circumvent type matchups. Like for example, Chopple counter Snorlax.
That's exactly what I was going to bring up. That's like the straw that breaks the camel's back in a lot of these situations where there's like an item or like a decent set that like breaks the like counterplay to like the other two sets. That's why usually like the 3 is the magic number, where it's like this like commonalities get like totally dunked on by a set that is also low opportunity cost, right? Where it's like Oras, Dragonite, not the best example, but mons were like you technically could tech to like beat the thing that counters you, but the tech set is just so much worse than like the other two sets that it's usually fine.
Yeah, and certain times, like a lot of times, you'll find that people are just content sticking to Scarf because that's what its niche is. You know, in like the actual meta that humans play, it's more often than not going to be Scarf because people like to beat like Lopunny, Greninja, Zard sometimes, stuff like that. Genesect with Fire Punch.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, all these guys in the ban list are as fucking degenerate as fuck. The only one I would say that isn't is like, I get Genesect only really had Akka as its main set, but like
it had like it ran everything, man. Akka was like the main set, but that mom ran everything.
No, Genesect was degenerate. Well, that's the example of like Akka beats the counters to the other side.
Okay, so right? This is something I super want to talk about. So I want to talk about like the surrounding meta being the reason why Amon is broken. Cause fucking okay, look at Orias Genesect versus SS Genesect. Like one is A- and one is banned out the fucking tier. Cause like the meta is just so. A meta's surroundings can be its power level, its other top mons, its all that stuff, and like, and other like top like the best fire types in SS, for example, aren't that good.
Yeah, you can just look at the VR. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's the good on paper versus the like good in practice distinction.
Or even like these mons just aren't even good. Just straight up, like Arcanine during this meta was not the best fucking mon. But
it was used a ton though.
It was used very often.
Ton of usage in that PL.
Because you needed it, right, for the other stuff in the tier.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that's what I was talking about. I was like alluded to earlier, like being artificially raising the usage of mons is like something that a lot of like not casuals, but like players that don't think that much about the meta will be like, oh, that's just like, that's fine, you gotta beat the best mon somehow, there's always gonna be top mons. But there's an extent where it's problematic, and I would say like once you start like really raising the viability of, I was looking at old SS posts the other day, and I was seeing all this shit about Clefable beating Snorlax and Sock and shit, and I'm like, yeah, these guys are really just not relevant mons that are just artificially being raised in usage because they're the guy that doesn't really have super like common counters. Like during that time, Genesect was able to like gunk shot shit, bolt beam shit. There's a lot of stuff that it was able to do. It had pretty much like coverage for everything. Great ladder mon during the LT. You can just fucking C-team everyone because spoiler alert, C-teaming is possible when not every single human is running a fire type on the ladder. When they're at, like it's like that, like this is like the worst point for fire types in SS. This is after Victini and before people realized Entei was broken. So at this point, like fucking fires were like ass, just straight up. And like I think
the SSVR needs a serious update.
This is the best I've ever seen the SSVR, but there's still things I don't like about it. So let's do we have anything to say more about like surrounding meta? Because
I just want to say that like usually it's because of over centralization, right? That's where you see the over centralizing tendency is like both in terms of like how often you see the mon itself used, but then also like how it warps the meta around it and what people are
and its counters and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I think surrounding meta matters a lot. Like I think you could probably unban Sableye in SS. I think you could do that without like the meta just fucking collapsing. But
It's been talked about for a while.
Yeah, it's a
but
degenerate mon.
Yeah, I
Nobody
just
wants
don't
to
think
do
there's
it.
a reason to do it. Like, I don't think it adds much to the meta.
Yeah,
It's just like a really
exactly.
unhealthy play pattern.
I agree.
Mhm.
But yeah. In terms of like surrounding meta, some metas are just like the top mons, the new mons can like really like warp like the viability of certain types, which I think matters a lot. So I want to talk about this thing about SS. We got the first two mons in the VR are Cresselia and Metagross, and these are like so drastically different in terms of, I would say, healthiness, that it's hilarious. Because Metagross is like totally like exactly what you talked about earlier, like the Great Tuscaloosa guy. Like, if you say ban Metagross in SS, you are a fucking idiot, just straight
You're
up.
deluded.
That mon's broken, dude.
It's good, but
Metagross is really good, dude.
it's a great mon in terms of just
Really
like
good.
steel type with all the tools to just win games and beat all this like random fairy stuff and nonsense that people run. But I mean, okay, would you want to ban Metagross from SS?
Well, no, but dude, Metagross is like not fair. I mean, SS is just fucked as a metagame. But Metagross is not fair, dude. Like, how many Pokemons actually beat Metagross? No negotiations. When you take into account like weakness policy,
Yeah.
like all of the sets, that mon is really annoying.
And there's a lot of ways that Metagross can like technically win matchups. Like Mischief, like when I talk with him about SS, is like, well, actually this play doesn't work because Scarf Trick. Also, actually this play doesn't work because I can be banned Meteor Mash. Like, it's like, okay, bro, pick one.
That's the problem with SS as a meta, though.
Yeah, that's not
That's
Metagross
all the top
specific.
tiers do.
Yeah, well, I think like whether or not Metagross in the context of SS is like broken, I think it raises a really good point about what a healthy top tier mon should be, which is like Metagross has like clear counterplay, and the play patterns are not as degenerate as something like I don't know, maybe Cresselia.
Yeah,
or
no,
Primarina is honestly a better example.
the thing about Cress is it's like the surrounding meta thing. That's why I want to talk about Cress. Cress is so bulky, and its weaknesses are Dark, Ghost, and Bug. And there's like probably two or what's the third viable ghost? There's like two viable ghosts, like damn near zero viable bugs. Like what fucking bug types do you run in SS?
Volcarona, it's like
Volk, like, yeah, Volk, and then dark types are like Moltres, or Shifu, Moltres G, and fucking Zarude. And it's like,
yeah.
and Aegislash is a viable ghost, I guess. Why is Aegislash the same rank as Hydreigon? Hydreigon is fucking ass. But anyways, I thought there'd be more mons that have super effective moves versus Crest. Like, we just named like 9 mons that have super effective stabs versus Crest and
the
are
problem
viable.
with Crest is it's like
T-Tar also, I guess.
it doesn't like the reason why Crest is not like uber busted is I think if you compare it to something like a Snorlax, where it's like Crest can technically have the thing where it's like main set, stall set, like best set, stall set ish, and then like alternative like more offensive sets. But the thing is, Crest's offensive sets, the opportunity cost is so big and they're so bad compared to the main
Also,
set,
it's just
generally.
it's just not an explosive
It doesn't
mon.
hit you.
It's not an explosive
Right.
mon. It can get out of control if you're like fighting Keyberry CM or some shit, especially if it has Sword Power. But I think Sword Power is like a really unnecessary move on it. But yeah, I don't know. It's surrounding meta. I think Crest is broken, but I don't really think it's particularly ban worthy. It's just like a mon that makes me like groan and say I hate SS. But like yeah, surrounding meta is just not built for Cresselia to be like a top 4 mon. I don't know. I feel like that's why it's good, is because people realize, oh wait, actually nothing really beats this guy, and I'm gonna probably beat 2 mons per team when I use it. And it does have various stall stats. It has Scarf. Specs is like, I like Specs. I'm like probably one of the biggest Specs fans you'll meet, but it's not like a set that like really moves the needle, you know.
Right. It has this flexibility that other like kind of broken mons have, but it's like the counterplay is so much more reasonable and the opportunity cost is so much greater.
I think the counterplay at Crest is actually not particularly reasonable, but also you won't always be the right set for every matchup. There's certain matchups where Scarf is really bad, and there's certain matchups where Stall just gets set up on. But at the end of the day, it's part of SS's identity to be such a sick-ass clusterfuck, I guess.
Yep.
I mean, the issue with creds is also the stall sets have a lot of variation.
Yeah. Key,
That's
helmet,
also an issue with it.
citrus,
Random
Leftovers
moves really
lefties is nice for like Prim, I think.
Yep.
Stored power, psychic, encore, or not encore, Psyshock, reflect, sub. It's just annoying as fuck. Moonblast.
Yeah, so it's hard to answer like all of the stall sets in one, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Just adding on to what you guys were saying.
Yeah, I think there are certain mons that are kind of broken because of items or other mechanics, like Primarina. Like, what happens if Custap gets banned? Like,
I mean,
No, I
Custap is
think
like
Prim
not
is
the
just-
most used item.
Yeah, I think Prim is
On it.
degenerate though. To be honest, like to be.
I think it's a degenerate mon, and I think this was the other thing you want to talk about, encore, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I was gonna mention that with the banned mons that almost all of them have encore. Because yeah, encore limits counterplay to mons so much. It's just such a broken move.
I'm thinking about
it's the, like-
a global encore ban right now. What if you just ban fucking encore from every gen?
I think the thing is, like, encore, I think it, in a lot of ways, it's a necessary evil, but it might
Yeah,
be
I agree with
too
that.
punishing, where it's just like, there's tiers where, like, you just, like, can't use setup moves. Like, that sucks. Because I think that setup moves are, like, a really underused part of the tier, or a really healthy part of the tier in a lot of ways. At least the more like offensive setup moves, you know what I mean? And I think that, yeah, what encore does is it really limits them out, and it eliminates counterplay in such an efficient way, right? Where it's just like, there's a difference between like changing your EV's entire move set item, right, to go from one set to another. It's another thing to just like slap encore instead of like your fourth move, and now you like beat a ton of different mons. You know what I mean?
It gets even better when you also have disable.
Yeah,
Shout
okay.
out Aroma
Encore
Tease.
disable. Encore disable is a stupid play pattern. Honestly, maybe a complex ban for encore disable. That'd be kind of fire.
Well, I think okay, for that you can either just say fuck it, ban encore, or fuck it, just ban, because like, okay, bro, SS Gardevoir is really has actually just atrocious stats.
Yeah, this is
And
Gardevoir's
so,
not good.
which I think limits it a lot. But Valiant,
The obvious example is Iron Valiant. Like that one should have obviously been banned like months ago. But
Yeah, definitely agree. I think, like, the reason why I'm hesitant with encore is just, like, compare it to taunt, right? But the thing is, it's so much better than taunt, because you don't have, it's not preemptive. And I think part of this is, like, just 1v1, where it's just, like, taunt introduces 50-50s that suck. You know what I mean? Where it's just, like, you know, you could taunt something that's just like attacking you and now you just lose. But encore, you don't even have to take that chance, right? You don't have to guess, because you can just be reactive in a way that will always win.
yeah, and it also combos with certain moves like Icy Wind, Trick Room, Disable. That's what I think when it gets super degenerate, is when it effortlessly like just works other moves perfectly. I think I don't like Prim and SS, but I think, like, when I realized Encore was such a deal breaker is when I was, like, trying to think of what the fuck beats Crest in this tier. And I'm like, oh, Encore Prim does, I guess. Cool. So it's like SS is truly, honestly, a clusterfuck of, like, degeneracy. Like, this gen is so weird and kind of, like, the more I think about it, the more it hurts my head of, like, all these, like, degenerate things interacting with each other. Prim also has Custap, excellent. It needed it. I don't know. I think Prim is like borderline unhealthy. But I'm not gonna say ban Prim. But I think
it's funny you say that.
It's a more unhealthy.
I think it's
mod.
like the healthiest top tier, besides like Zera. I think it's the healthiest top tier besides like Zera, I guess. I think Prim's an honorable mon. And
I
it's
think
also, I think it's
Victini-
very necessary. for the
Victini
tier as
really
well.
shows off both of the things we've been talking about with Custap and Encore. Like,
And also
I had a thought,
surrounding meta.
If you ban Custap and Encore, how many of these mons could you free? That's what I was thinking about earlier. Because like I think you could free Snorlax, free Victini, maybe just those two. I think you could free those with no Custap and no Encore.
Yes, a prompt I had was the ideal SS ban list. So you could just go if you guys want to talk about like what you can free, because I was talking about this before the recording, but I think for SS, I think Ursa LT was like the peak of the meta, and it does not really come close at all actually. In terms of like diversity, in terms of healthiness, people eventually realized Victini was stupid, and then that kind of fucking like started the domino effect in terms of banning other mons. But like at this point in time, everyone had such a unique invisible playstyle. Like Nale was super like fucking Moltres Galar, Zaya was like fucking Registeel and Raikou and shit. Edgar kind of used similar mons. I was like kind of experimenting with like Cress and also like random shit like fucking Salamence and Rotom-Mow.
Shout out the Mobot.
Yeah,
It's worth noting that was a new meta, wasn't it?
yeah, and so okay, that's something I'm gonna talk about later. But yeah, in terms of SS peak, what in terms of what we're willing to unban after banning Custap and Encore, what do you guys think?
I mean, hypothetically, if those two were banned, I would unban Victini and Lax. Because I think Snorlax is broken because
do you think Mew is probably still too good?
No, do not. You can't free Mew because of Imprison.
Mew is too stupid. Yeah. Oh yeah, the Imprison set. Yeah.
Okay,
as
but
long
what
as
if
Mew has Imprison plus Transform, that thing should be banned in every fucking tier.
What if Mew, like, because I like to think about complex bans, because I was thinking about a Discord tour, I was thinking about like ideal SS, where you just fucking ban counter off Lax, and stuff like just like ban weakness Pulsar Victini. That's like my dumb idea that I've had for like 2 years. But
yeah, I think that's stupid.
What about it is dumb, but it's enforceable, and you can like have a certain meta where it's not like, oh shit, Snorlax is still broken, oh shit, Victini is still broken. But then you can free like Necro and stuff and Genesect and the, like, I don't know, but you probably don't free Jirachi. That guy's fucking crazy.
I think something actually people don't talk about is like resist berries.
Mm-hmm.
Resist berries are uncompetitive.
You actually, how serious is that statement?
No, not serious. That was because that deck says that in response to Custap Berry argument.
Well, no, it's like semi-serious, but it's like Custap is like a way bigger version of this other stuff in terms of like items that fundamentally like break core game mechanics, right? Where it's just, but I think the thing about the resist berries is that they're so much less offensive because they're much more narrow. Right, it's the whole thing about opportunity cost, right? The opportunity cost for switching out your item for a resist berry when like that doesn't even beat all the mons of that type, you know what I mean? Is like so great. And usually it's like it's only narrow too, where a lot of the mons with a type advantage against you, right? Just because you can like live one more of their attacks doesn't mean you're gonna win, right? And it's also, like Magearna running Akka Berry, and like it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, Custap is such a very like it's such a catch-all item, and certain metas don't really allow you to run resist berries. Like, how often are you gonna see resist berries in fucking SM and ORAS? Not much.
Well, it's also it's like Custap is always good. Like it's good in like every matchup. Because it just gives you those options.
Custap isn't like the best in black-white, but I still think there's like some unexplored stuff with like Custap Conk and other like the Custap like Toxic Fly, Thunders and shit.
Dude, that's a dark set, man. Hungry booties. Yeah.
Also, Manaphy.
Yeah.
I think the obvious answer for like earlier gens is that there's Mega Stones, there's Z moves, and then there's gems. And I think those also all compete with Custap. And gens flow SS.
Yeah, I think gems are good in this tier. That might be a hot take, but
yeah. So okay, let's formulate quickly a ideal with no complex bans. Fuck it, no Custap or complex. That hurts me, but let's have an ideal SS 1v1 ban list, unban list, whatever. So ban Encore, get that guy out of here. Ban Custap, get that guy out of here. You probably free Necro, Victini, Snorlax. I'm gonna get the list right now.
Lax still might be really dumb.
It might, but with no Encore.
Oh wait, tell me what beats Lax. Look at the list. Tell me what beats Lax.
Tapu Fini. Iron defense.
Yeah, you want like Urshifu.
Because like the issue I had with Lax is that it had these 50-50s where it can Encore you into moves that either you could get countered from, or you could get belly jumped on, and it was just such a fucking lame dynamic of like Snorlax always can kind of like force you to play a certain way, or force you to have 50-50s and stuff. I feel like Snorlax could don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to act like Snorlax is a saint, but it could be theoretically unbanned and then go from there. If you want to make sure it's not ban worthy, you can just ban fucking like Trouble Barrier, counter, or some shit off. If you want to like do some complex Discord tour shit, which I think is worth exploring, by the way. Yeah. I
think that could be interesting. Yeah. You could definitely free some stuff.
You free Necro. I think you always free Necro. Free Gen.
There is also Zygarde.
Dude, don't free that guy.
There is Zygarde as well. Why? How are you freeing Snorlax, Victini, even on Zygarde?
Bro, I think it's fucking lame, and kind of. I don't think a Mon should have that much AP.
Also, we're talking about Zygarde in SM and how it's kind of broken.
Yeah, I think it's broken as fucking SM.
Yeah, Zygarde's broken as fucking SM. That one's broken.
Look, if it's broken in SM, like...
It doesn't have Z moves.
It doesn't have Z moves, that's true. Yeah. But like the surrounding power level is just so much lower.
It is. But I don't know, I think if you free all the guys, you might as well free him too.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't like.
Take on that.
I don't think power construct, dude. Okay, this is the thing that happened in early SM. There was a power construct suspect, and no one that was anti power construct, like didn't want to free it, actually like made a post except me, and I said, okay, I'm gonna try to find it actually. Did I call it Zygarde or power construct? Hold on. From Dom. But basically, I had like an insane one-liner, and then Rosa like flipped their shit like. Oh my god, all these people are voting and not actually posting or interacting. They're just like saying that because it's an Uber or whatever. I say Zygarde.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that like just like the power level difference is so big. Like take like not even the best mon in SM, like far from the best mon. Like take like a Z move Lele and put it in SS, like or just Lele, right? Like holy shit. It just runs over half the metagame.
I mean, the thing with Lele is also on the psychic terrain nerf also happened.
Mm-hmm.
That's true in this gen. So,
and I still think the surrounding meta for SM is better for Lele than SS because like all the dragons and shit and like stall and shit. And SS is kind of just like Dragapult, fucking Prim, Cress. And you can beat.
I don't know. You have comparable steals. You have much better fires. Like I don't know. I think might be even.
So okay, we like very loosely all made a fucking SS. Are we done with this ban list? I feel like it's dumb to be honest, but
well, one quick thing for SS is like notice how none of us said the ban things. By the way, we all said the free things. It's kind of funny. Well, besides banning Encore and Custap. There's no like mons to ban. There's no like one mon to ban, and like the metagame's saved. That's just not how it is for SS.
Yeah, it's just such a like. It's sort of like Gen 5 OU. Like there's so many problems.
I think you could argue to ban Regidrago, but that's it.
But it wouldn't fix the metagame. That's the problem.
It would change some things.
Dude, fixing SS is literally impossible. There's no fucking way.
That's true.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I think banning Regidrago allows you to use different counterplay for like Dragapult and Urshifu, for example. You use like non-fairies to beat those, but I don't know how much it would actually change. I don't know.
So do we want to
because it forces the roll compression, right? Because it's just like if you're already beating these other things, you kind of might as well do that, and then it limits the diversity.
So do we want to talk about the ideal black-white ban list? Because this is a divisive...
Black-white. Okay.
I don't think there's a way to make Cure Unbalanced without banning items or moves off it.
Oh, we're jumping straight into.
I don't really
yeah.
have much to say about ORS at the moment, but while we're on the topic of just like ideal metas / tier Gen 5 1v1, what do we got here?
Okay, get Snorlax and Manaphy out of there if we're not banning items or moves.
I think Manaphy's fine in that gen.
Actually, Manaphy, that's another like surrounding meta syndrome.
Yeah,
right? Where you just look at the electrics are really good. You have decent grass types. You have like all this like solid counterplay.
I don't think grass types are good in that tier at all. TBH.
I mean, not
actually. No, I love Shaman. I love Shaman.
Shaman is great. Superior.
Also, you got a lot of good dragons like Latios, and I guess Haxorus doesn't even beat you at all. But actually, Latios is better than Latios. Stay woke, people.
It probably is, yeah.
Yeah. People routinely, that's like a huge tendency, is like people routinely underestimate how good like stall type mons are. I think they're sort of like coming around now, but like even a couple years ago, like there's just not enough respect. And I think like you kind of see this in building where it's just like the stall mons are like almost always gonna 2-1 you. And the reason why they're underestimated is because like the counterplay is so clear, right? They're so obviously not broken. They can't really tech you, but like they're just so solid.
I think it depends on
type
sometimes, because are there certain teams that are really hostile to slow bro? I've ran like Zard Gengar a lot. I think I don't know if I'm SC's on those teams, but yeah, stall can get good matches. I don't like getting crit at all. I
think that's why Slowbro is like the platonic ideal of stall mons, because it's like no crits, plays around like status, can't taunt it, can't encore it.
Has like you can
unkillable.
Probably run. There's like 7 moves you should consider running on the Slowbro.
Yeah.
And 1 EV spread. Actually, there's 2 EV spreads. You can run
beats other stall stuff because immune to status, and you can just run Demon Bro. Like I don't know, Slowbro's kind of broken.
Yeah, that's been a thought for like probably a year of Slowbro's kind of broken, but also, meh. I feel like Slowbro is not oppressive enough.
No, it's not. It's not too over centralizing because like it still has a lot of checks.
And if you're fighting a really good player, I think Slowbro can kind of be a liability in terms of like being tech bait. That's something I want to talk about with Heatran.
Yeah.
I think Heatran, or S1 Heatran, is like the actual biggest tech bait I've ever seen in my entire fucking life.
No, I just don't think it's good. I think after Zardwise has been banned, I just don't think you should be bringing Heatran. Like almost at all. I think that there's.
It has a good type
that like
spread.
Specs and Scarf are pretty decent, but I think outside of those, like, it's rough.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like a...
The eruption sets are really cool. Like, beating Sableye, if Sableye was used more.
Okay.
It probably should.
So that just got an idea in my mind. So honestly, I don't give a fuck about the Black White ban. Let's free all the guys. Free Cottonee.
Free Cottonee. Do not free Cottonee, bro.
Okay, so no, let's have a Cottonee discussion right now. Because I think that it got banned. I think Cottonee got banned preemptively in Black White. Personally. Because Whimsicott was broken because it could run any resist berry, also mental herb, so you can't taunt it. Cottonee can do like none of those things. And it was kind of fizz def, right? I don't really think it ran much of a def, so you could just like hit it with like a strong special super effective move, like Ice Beam, Flamethrower from a strong guy, Sludge Wave.
Well, I think level 5 Cottonee might have like been the broken the straw there.
Nah, dude, people don't give a fuck about the Bright Powder. Even though that shit actually has really good odds to win a lot of games.
Why is Bright Powder legal?
It's only legal in ORS, I think.
It's legal in ORS? It's fine.
Yeah. Yo, don't ruin that for me, okay?
Yeah, edit that out.
Redacted.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I feel like Cottonee may have been able to stay for like 6 months longer and been given more treatment because like I don't know, man. If you can't
they got
run
banned before here in Black.
Yeah, no, this shit is crazy to me. And it has like 300 less BST probably. Let me do the math actually.
More than
QB, do not free QB. Do not free QB, bro.
Okay, it has wait, hold on. It has 420 less BST than Kieran Black. by the way.
Hey yo.
Yeah, that was
Wait, I think your math is totally wrong.
No, it says 280 versus 7,000 or 700.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong
That is
Kyurem. My bad,
420.
Chief.
Anyway.
That's hilarious.
Anyway. I didn't do much Black White back then, honestly. I just think it's funny that they got banned before Kyurem Black.
No, that pissed me off at the time, because like it's weak to fire, ice, poison. It just wasn't really strong. It's Spadef wise. There was still shit.
Yeah.
It was good in the meta, like Volcarona and other guys that you can run like strong ice beam on Kyurem Black. I don't know, man.
Kyurem Black should have. Kyurem Black lived way longer than it should have in that tier. That shit should have
I don't know.
been banned.
I think it was probably the right amount of time. I think Jirachi lived too long, if anything.
I think Jirachi was underexplored though. I think it was
Jirachi-
underexplored in like every tier.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's
I
the
think
same thing
Jirachi
with
should have been banned.
Togekiss. Exactly the same thing with Togekiss, except
That's
Jirachi
true.
was like more obvious. Where it's, and like Encore is the problem for Togekiss for sure.
I mean, this is again going back to like the combination of offensive and stall sets for Togekiss because of Scarf, like, and then
Yeah,
or D-Wave.
Scarf wasn't even that good, honestly.
And
I
Black
think
White,
the
yeah,
stall
that was
set
not good.
really. The stall set is really what makes it nuts, and it's like speed control plus Encore is just
Mhm.
it's just broken.
Yeah.
And also you have like the Ala air slash factor. Like
Oh yeah, no, that was like the real tipping point. Is like, holy shit, these games are absolutely toxic.
I feel
where it's
like-
just, like flinching like Heatran, like holy shit.
I feel like people
in
realize
later
the
gens.
archetype of like stall Pokemon that also can just like win games it shouldn't is just not healthy. Even though like you could argue the surrounding,
Shaman.
you could argue
Shaman.
the surrounding meta wasn't like the best thing, because actually I don't know how popular electrics were at this point, but like it had Togekiss had like
Raikou-
counterplay, but
Raikou was very popular, wasn't it?
yeah. I think that was kind of maybe some Thundurus, but I think Raikou was the most popular. And yeah, you could tech T-Tar and shit, so it's just like a overall insane clusterfuck.
Yeah, I think Gen 4 Shaman is like a good example of the same thing, where it's just like not only is it like really good at stalling you and has some offensive sets, but like there's bullshit in there too.
Yeah,
So.
Seed Flare drops are so like game changing.
Mhm.
Okay.
So I'm looking through the list right now. We kind of already described the ideal qualities of a top tier, but I think we should just like be more hypothetical here. So I think let's talk about an ideal like top 1, 2, 3. Come on. So like how much is too much, or like just it's like Goldilocks, like in the middle of like being too much and too weak to the point where it's like a decentralized meta because there's nothing that good. So surrounding meta obviously a factor, but I kind of want to isolate just like the Pokemon. So I'm gonna talk about like Victini real quick. This guy is not at all a good example of a top mon ever, because item wise, move wise, like EV wise, this guy can kind of do everything. And like being weak to water when you have Bolt Strike, being weak to rock, which is just a garbage typing, being weak to ground when you have Glaciate and Wisp and stuff, and Dark, Ghost aren't, as we mentioned, like huge factors in 1v1 most of the time. So that is like a actually horrible example. What do you guys
Also
think?
physical and special.
Mhm.
You also have like the Encore thing, like, and I think the biggest thing about Victini is the like lack of opportunity cost, right? Where
Yep.
it's just like
100%.
all of its sets are good. Like
Yep.
there are no bad Victini sets.
And, like with like a fire move, you beat like everything you need to, honestly.
Yeah. What do you guys think was what is one of your favorite top tiers in like 1v1 history?
I brought this up, but I think Altaria, like Gen 6 Altaria, is like
No,
a really good example.
I feel like that's like more of a hypothetical thing. What, like I'm trying to pinpoint
Yeah,
like a
it's
specific meta that you guys were like
like a real top tier.
Yeah, I think even though I've been critical of this tier, I think DVP Tyranitar is fine,
Yeah, I was gonna say
sufficient.
Chople counter is kind of stupid, but yeah.
Yeah, because I noticed about Chopo counters, you can go full Fizz-Dev, and then you can like start living in Fernape and Slacking and like really strong fighting moves.
Yeah, I think I'm a Chople counter truther, and I this was right before I quit. I realized that like Choppel counter T-Tar is like basically impossible to like play around. Like you don't even, I don't know. It's just so, it's super hard to build for.
Yeah,
like,
the
you need,
Infernate
like,
matchup.
Suicune.
The Infernate versus T-Tar matchup's a good example. Remember Jabir used to run like Mach Punch to pop the Choppel?
Yeah.
And then you just
We
die
go
to
from there.
Earthquake. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's so
Mhm.
stupid. And like Scarf Tar is a thing too. So like,
Mm.
I don't know. It's I think I think T-Tar generally before like Choppel, or like people don't really use Choppel that much now. Maybe they should, but yeah, I think T-Tar is a decent example. I think Gen 7, honestly, I think Magearna, even though I thought it was kind of broken for a while, I still think it's really strong, but I think it's like, it doesn't have too much set diversity. Like, it does one thing really well, and it's not necessarily too centralizing, because you can tech it in certain ways. But it might be a little toxic in the sense that, like, it is over-centralizing to a degree, where it's, like, still difficult to tech. But it's super possible to tech, and especially, like, given Gen 7's tools.
I feel
like,
like
that's the thing.
I feel like it's
like
really
you can
easy to
tech
tech
anything.
because like I remember Rose used to be a big like CM laser focus kind of person on Rainbow.
Laser focus is really cool. I really really like the laser focus innovation.
Also,
Yeah.
Fire EMZ and Ground EMZ on random fuckers.
Z conversion Sunny Day PZ.
Yeah, just like absurd shit like that. Pretty. I think Magearna is cool. When you said SM, I'm like, dude, please don't tell me that he's gonna say that D-Knight is like a good example.
No, D-Knight is the opposite. D-Knight is like Victini, right? D-Knight is like Victini syndrome, plus it can tech even more stuff than Victini. Like, the fact that this can run like Electrium Z, like, holy shit. Like,
yeah, I think
D-Knight is so nuts. That
SM
shit should have been banned years ago.
SM is the worst tiered 1v1 in history, and I would say probably top 3 worst tiers on Smogon. It's below 80 VUU. That tier is actually a fucking disaster in terms of like tiering history. But
it's fun though. It's really fun.
Yeah, that's why people have remained like fairly uncritical, I would say, of SM. It's just because Lamau, I clicked Fire MZ Naganado. Funny.
No, I think SM's fire, man.
I think the highs
That's
of
your
SM are really
circle.
low, or high, and the lows are low. Like, sometimes you just feel like you just get bullshitted, and so many series just go to 5 because you take turns SM 1v1ing each other.
Yeah.
No, I think the ideal of SM is like the ideal 1v1 tier though. Because like you can use you have the most freedom because Z moves enable so many mons to be usable.
But what is too much, though? Because I really didn't like how SS turned out in Black White to an extent, of just in terms of like decentralization going too far. But I guess like Z moves act as sort of like a power creep to keep like those guys in check, and like
No,
SS
I think it's the
SM
opposite.
has a lot of gatekeeper mons.
I think it's the opposite, right? I think SM is definitely the most decentralized tier in 1v1 history. It's not even close. And it's because of, like, the lower ranked mons get the Z moves to give them niches no matter what. And it has the opposite effect, right? Where it's just like, you might see like more overall mons in the metagame at one point in time. You actually see less decentralized mons in total on these teams because you need like 2 brokens plus tech in order to actually build a solid team, because there's just so much you need to cover. So it actually has the opposite effect of re-centralizing the metagame overall, even if the theoretical amount of options is greater, which I think is not something people appreciate.
Yeah, that's true. I did say in theory, like I think the idea of SM, but yeah, in practice it is like you said.
Well, because the issue I was gonna say is the issue of like SM versus SS is like SM has far better gatekeeper mons than SS. Because as Bo Bobson famously once said, you can use whatever in SS, and like what are the gatekeepers? Like, I guess Crest, I guess like Zera kinda, I guess like Feeny for sure, Prim for sure, but like that has nothing to like that compares nothing to Mega Charizard, Mega Metagross, Dragonite, fucking Magearna, fucking Gardevoir, fucking Zygarde complete form,
PZ,
fucking
conversion PZ,
fucking
Slowbro,
fucking Zeraora, fucking Victini, like bro.
Meloetta, celebrate Meloetta, like.
No, this shit like SM has actually like 15 more Gatekeeper mons than SS, and that's why I don't like SS very much right now. Just because I feel like there's way too much rampant bullshit, and like, you can kind of just use like bad mons in SS just because like, why not? Like Bob-ombs with Rhydon. I think Rhydon has never lost in a 1v1 team tour, right? And it's been brought like 5 or 6 times.
That's such a funny stat. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
And Bomb 21 XD out here with fucking Hydreigon and Reboot and shit. And you can just use Toxapex and fucking Slow King Galar and Tentacruel, and I'm looking at the VR right now. This is actually hilarious. Blastoise.
Those are all gold.
Roserade, Archeops, Buzzwole. Yeah, there's just so much random shit you can use just cause why not? But
Musharna, shout out Musharna, created by Charizard.
Yeah, so what do you guys think is like the in terms of like the happy medium for a top tier mon? I think set limitations and just overall limitations are good, because I think of like 2018 OS Zard is a good example, because it kind of centralized its tier in a nice little neat way, but also it was super underexplored.
Yeah, I think this sort of type theme is really important, where it's just like, you should not be able to beat, like, you should generally lose to mons of the type that beats you. Because what ends up happening is, like, for example, like, with certain tiers where it's just like, you have this type, or like mons of a type, where it's just like, I want to run a fairy type, right? For example, it's like, I want to beat some dragons, but it's just like, if there is a dragon that beats the fairy type, then your sort of range that you can use is inherently restricted. I think you have the sort of opposite effect that we talked about with like Regidrago and SS, right? Where it's just like, even if like there are mons that beat a general other section of mons, right? It's like, because the type matchup is so limited, and because there's stuff that like sort of overcomes its type weaknesses, that can be really problematic. So let me see if I can come up with a more specific example.
Victini and Zard both do not
Zard, I think Zard Y. Zard Y. Just straight up Zard Y in waters, right? Where it's just like, if you're a water that can't beat Zard Y, like, why are you being run? You know what I mean? In ORAS.
That's why I started running Ancient Power Specs Manaphy in ORAS towards the end of that meta. Because I'm like, I'm fucking tired of this fucking Solar Beam.
That's stupid. That's so, the fact that you have to do that is so stupid.
Yeah, because I'm gonna play that always tries to get an edge on the meta, and it's like, dude, this shit is dumb. I'm trying to think of more mons that I really liked as top tiers. I think Magearna's cool because it has limitations but also can run Air Balloon. I think
Gyarados in most of the tiers it's legal is like just a super,
yeah, it's healthy.
Legit. It's super healthy.
Gyarados
like,
is honorable.
Gatekeeps bullshit. And then like, but it's not too big of a gatekeeper. Like, you can really reasonably beat it, and it has enough set diversity to like be interesting. But it's not set diversity that's like way teching shit, where it's just like, okay, you can run Stone Edge.
Also,
right? But it's like,
yeah, a good
like,
thing
sure.
I like about Gyarados is that it's in similar like power level gens. Like, bro, if you put Mega Gyarados in SS, bro, that shit is gonna go crazy.
That would be every mon. Like, literally the entire tier.
the only issue I have with Gyarados is the 50/50s, like the Mega 50/50s.
Yeah, between Mega and not.
I honestly think that a lot of the time that comes down to skill. Like in practice it comes down to skill, because certain people won't realize, oh shit, I should stay regular, oh shit, he's gonna stay regular. I think the thing I don't want to be because about Mega Gyarados is Waterfall Flinch. Just straight up. It's
Waterfall Flinch is really stupid, but
yeah, Gyarados is a great example. That's a good example of a mon that is pretty unproblematic as
honestly, Mawile is also, I think, a very pretty fair.
That's another mon, and the thing about Gyarados and Mawile is that the reason that these are so like balanced megas is I feel like honestly it just comes down to the fact that they're Gen 1 and Gen 3 mons, so they don't have super high BST. Like what if they were Gen 4, Gen 5 mons and they would just have like 100 BST extra each? Like that should be fucking lame. But Mawile, yeah, has a lot of type weaknesses. Fire ground. Actually, is it latest fire ground?
Yeah.
But also,
Fairy Steel's the best typing in the game.
it's like bad versus stall sometimes. Like I think Venusaur, not like slow or down stall, because you can just punish me with that. But like Venu, I don't know how the stall mana match goes. I think it just comes down to stall burn.
Well, that's the thing is that like to beat the stall matchups, there are real trade-offs, right? Where it's just like you have to run like I don't know, Taunt Ironhead.
Yes.
It's like even if you can't beat the stall matchups, there's a real loss there.
That's such a good point of like how I'm a top tier with trade-offs, because Zard in 2022 ORS like X and Y, it had like on paper trade-offs, but actually they like didn't matter.
Yeah, I brought like 5 Zard sets in 5 games, and it was like it didn't feel like I was giving up very much. Like I gave up like 2 or 3 matchups for each one to get like 2 or 3 matchups, and it's like, but the 2 or 3 matchups were really big.
Yeah, because
like,
you have to run those mons, because you have to run the like 7 or 8 mons that are quote unquote counters or hard checks or whatever,
or like big Spadef or like super fast, and it's like just so. Yeah, Zard's kind of broken in ORS still.
Crucify, do you have any other like top tiers that you think are cool? In terms of like being top 1 to 5?
Like, yeah, I think you guys covered all the ones that I wanted to say. So, but
alright.
Yeah, I think you guys said all the ones that I was gonna say.
Now I want to talk about one more thing. The part that I was most excited for, which is hypothetical top tier mons. Of like mons that have pretty much rarely or ever been top tiers, but I think could be cool. I think Malt was a great example. I think I was thinking about like Malt in like an ORS 1v1 level, power level, where it's like kind of like 1v1 BL. Not UU. Malt would destroy everything in UU, but like sort of like there's solid offensive mons to like beat it, but also it is in fact a mega with Fairy Dragon, DD, ORS Pixelate, Giga Impact. Also can run Fizz Def, also can run Spadef, also can be fast, also has a lot of move variety, also can be stall with Cotton Guard. I think Malt, if you build a meta around it, could be like a number 1 mon, and it wouldn't be a problem, because it has that like glue factor of like just being a top mon that just beats a lot of shit, but also has some weaknesses, isn't fast.
Yeah, I think PZ, and honestly early ORS PZ is kind of like this too, right? Where it's like PZ, it has like decent counterplay, like has clear, it has a lot of options. I think SM PZ is like you see the opposite, where it's like it gets too many tools and now it's just super toxic. But like when it's just a offensive oriented mon, it's
SMPZ can EV out the ass. That mon has like so much
SMPZ
EV
is so
potential.
stupid.
Just because Omniboost plus recover plus like being strong is really. It's a very unique part of PC. There's not a lot of mons that do that ever.
Yeah. It's like Meloetta, but Meloetta doesn't even have recover, so I can't even say that.
Yeah. I was thinking about like Rotom forms as like a top like mon one, because I was thinking. So I have a question on the thing. It's like, is a low power level 1v1 good? And the answer from ORS budget is
ADV.
Yes. Or
I don't
ADV.
know.
I think
depends on the gen, man.
No, I was gonna say ADV is bad, but I think that the thing is there's a difference between low power level and low tools, right? ADV is both, but the problem with ADV is you just don't have tools, and tools are really good because it means that it limits the counterplay to like the best stuff.
Dude, the tools in ADV are like Mimic and Serpentine.
Yeah, it depends on the gen, because like early SS, like do we think early SS was a good meta? Like before like pre-PL4, like pre-home, I guess, and then post-home during PL. Like, was that a good meta?
That was such an unfun meta to ladder.
Yeah.
That was my metric, because I wasn't playing Taurus at that time.
Okay, I have to go real quick, but
thank you for coming on to the show, man.
Good bid. Peace.
I don't have that much left in the show, but I do want to read off the Darcy post, because he won the ORS 1v1 budget tour finals. I was gonna make a vid, but the replays died and I was kind of busy, so I'll just read this. This tour format was incredibly fire, and I preferred the sort of range from 14 to 20 over anything lower or higher. It's cool to decide where you're supporting a high point mod with some shitters. Also, not all shitters are not created equally. Versus making a more balanced team with some midpoint shooters. Good job, host. Relly and Zelly sucks. We played at a bad time for Americux, but that's your loss. Lol, lol, lol. Yeah, that was a really cool experiment. I'm actually gonna show this is the one thing I've been screen recording the entire time, and like I've not really been using it. But I'm gonna just show some ORS budget tour teams because I think low power level 1v1, and not low diversity, because like I feel like DPP 1v1 it's like a pretty low diversity meta just because there's not that many viable mons, bro. Like, are you about to use Drapion or some shit? But let me find the point in my builder when I started doing. Yeah, okay, here we go. So I'm gonna screenshot these teams really quick. These are like
real quick. Not all shitters are created equally is such a good line.
No, they're not.
That's a good one.
People spam the fuck out of Golem and Shaman the entire fucking tour. So let's take a little review of these teams real quick. This was such an amazingly fun tour because fresh 1v1 metas are probably like the best.
Yep,
there's some metas that peak for a while like ORS, but then 1v1 has a habit right now of developing mons too fast or too hard, and they just get fucking OP, and it's like annoying. But yeah, Phariseed, budget Fairthorn, Houndoom is like a viable fire type that was pretty low points, and then Azu is Azu. This random ass, I think it was Power Herb Gyarados for grasses because it seemed like doesn't beat a single grass type ever. And then Yachi Zygarde, Specs Magneton for like bulky waters and shit. We got the Pikachu Bell team was a fucking troll. Did I send that one? Is that in the screenshot?
Pikachu Bell.
Oh, it's not even in the fucking Okay, let me post some more. Oh, I have a lot more actually. So I have a Lickitung team because Lickitung is like a really budget Stalmon with Amnesia and I guess something else. Yeah, Curse, a counter, some shit. Torn is just randomly there to match up fish guys. That's the same screenshot ups.
Yeah.
Did it do the new one? Looks like
yeah, I can see it. That seems funny. I didn't even recognize what that mon was. Yeah.
My favorite team was Entei Tornadus Torterra. Because I realized Torterra and Kingler are like actually really viable Custap users. Like I would consider running those in like a series where I felt comfortable like slight trolling, but like I still kind of want to win because these guys I beat people in friendlies with Torterra and Kingler a lot.
Yeah. Torterra is viable in like DPP.
So what do you have to say about like lower power level 1v1s? Because I think they can super work, and they're best when they're a fresh meta.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it just depends on the gen, though. Like, so, that's why I think 1v1 UU should be a thing. I think 1v1 UU should be a thing again. Because you have so much more flexibility. But
and they're new. It's new.
Yeah, new metagames are always the best. They just are. Unless there's like a bunch of broken shit running around, like it is in SV right now. Then it's not. But
I think it's certain metas can be good for long stretches of time, like I said, ORS. But fresh metas are really, really engaging. Because I think there's a really distinct push to like, I'm gonna solve this shit with Kingler and Torterra and Golem and Shaman and shit. Which is like not super present in any other tier. People kind of get content just like building some teams every week, then playing, then building and playing, and certain like nerds like me, like I love to just be able to be like, okay, Gudra and Kyurem actually destroy the 7-point 1v1 ORS 1v1 budget tour meta. Same with Mega Glalie and shit. Yeah, I don't know. I think low power. I think that's a great takeaway. 1v1 UU should be a thing again. Just for people that just want to fucking venture into an unfamiliar territory. I feel like Kaif would super like that type of shit. Because he's just talking about how he doesn't like a lot of metas right now. And yeah, I don't know. Dude, for 1v1 Yugi, what the fuck?
I mean, it's just unfeasible because like you can't even tier or like normal 1v1. How are we gonna have 1v1 UU? This is how it is. That's a topic for another day.
Yeah, that's a topic for a angry episode. Nah, but like, I don't know. I think low power levels, because I was talking to a few people and they really. Do you remember like early SS 1v1 UU? Do you remember that?
I vaguely remember it. I remember like Clefable
Yeah,
using that tier.
I think it's like Ninetales Alola as well.
Yeah.
The people that I talked to actually really liked that meta. So I think I think
Yeah.
I think 1v1 UU. I don't even think 1v1 UU not being tier well is even that bad. Like, bro, you're playing 1v1 UU. You're kind of signing up for some fucking.
Yeah. Okay, I was using tiering as a place and for like people contributing to it.
You know, I know, but it would
Yeah,
also.
that's like a whole different
I
topic.
feel like it could be viable as fuck. And
No, I think it would be fun, of course.
And Budget Tour, if you talk to people that played it, really was a success. Fucking replays are fucking down. God fucking. But yeah, literally, there's so much diversity, and the push to like solve the meta in new metas or like low power level metas is just is really cool. Like fucking Jacob just getting bored and being like, all right, ADV Clefable, you lose, GG.
Yeah, literally.
Stuff like that, and in terms of like that's what I was talking about with the Rotom forms. I think Rotom forms could be a perfect like top tier for a low power level meta.
I agree.
Because,
yeah, like in theory, DPP 1v1 with Rotom forms as one of the top tier would be funny.
Or even a gen where they actually have types. Like you could like have some black white meta where the best mons are Rotom, Heat, and Kingdra and shit.
And Kingdra would be a fun top tier mon.
Yeah, because I think type weaknesses are pretty big for a top mon, but also Kingdra has like no good stats. No.
Kingdra is just so weak. Like it has so much counterplay. Like you can look in DPP. Like at one point in DPP, it was one of the higher ranked mons. But yeah, it has a lot of counterplay though.
Yeah, I really think I think there might be a Discord tour soon for some shit because I think Champs is like fucking dead, and so why not?
It's starting in January. I think it starts after Masters finishes actually, because that tour's been going on forever. But it'll start eventually.
Yeah, so maybe Discord tour depending on like some whatever people feel like playing. David wanted to play something, so maybe we host something small. But I don't really have much more to say this episode. Let me look at the notes to see if I missed anything. It's just like an hour and 30.
I think it was a good length.
Yeah, hour 37 minutes. Pretty long. I don't know if you're still watching. Any more comments?
If you made it this far, thank you.
If you made it this far, ban Encore from 1v1 every gen.
Yeah.
Except free 1v1 UU, but like actually.
Yeah.
Not much more to say. Thanks for watching.
Peace.
Peace.
Hello, Ursus. How's it going? Hope you're having a great day.